Who was John Newland? John Newland was born around the 17th of April 1737. This was his baptism date, as the minister at the time, the Reverend George Blackwell, failed to put his exact date of birth on his baptism certificate. His father, William, a merchant, and his uncle John, his namesake, were both from Shotts. His mother was Isabel Russell. Both Isabel and William were married on the 1st of June 1733, and John was born here at the site of his former childhood home on Hill Street in Bathgate. He had 3 brothers: William, born the 1st of October 1738, David, born the 31st of June 1742, and Robert, born the 2nd of March 1748.
The days before this was a cemetery, the ground around the Old Town Church was put to many uses besides the grazing of cattle. On washing days it was a sight to be seen, and on every day, but on the long summer evenings especially, it was the recognised playground for the children of the village. John Newland would have played many a game on this spot, and that it was the memory of the happy summer evening spent under the shadow of the old kirk of Bathgate.
There are a few stories as to why John left Bathgate. One such is that he set fire to a plantain at Hopton House Estate, another that he had an affair with a married woman and left Bathgate to avoid the High Kirk session. Another that he was a joiner in Bathgate and went to the docks to gain promotion, as he was a known carpenter. John left Bathgate around 1755 to 1756, and a more plausible reason for him leaving is found in a letter dated to 1768 to his father William in Bathgate. His father had remarried a woman called Jean Robertson, who is said to have terrorised the children of Isabel Russell. John was 16 when his father remarried in 1753. The new bride, Jean Robertson, seems to have been an honourable affair, and it's this affair of the heart is why John decided to put considerable distance between himself and the vicinity of Balbardy House and choose a place of habitation where the troubling of the Kirk session ceased and the amatory were at rest. This caused the complete disappearance of his brother William. Robert was with him in Jamaica, and his brother David remained in Bathgate with his father.
Accounts say John Newland was a sober, plodding and industrious man who wasn't afraid of hard work. He, full of youthful enthusiasm for adventure, and was one of many Scots who sailed to the West Indies in the 18th century to make their fortunes. He settled in Jamaica before 1768 and was running a sugar plantation in the county of Surrey, St Andrews.
In 1775, John bought his first slave, Lucy or Lucky, from a free black man at the cost of £140. His name and wealth grew on the island, and by 1780 he owned 144 acres of land to the north of Kingston called Newland's Pen. In 1785, John purchased Little Goat Island to the west of Kingston along with 27 slaves and land at Kingston Harbour. It was from here that his ships would ferry line from his island to be sold in Kingston. In February 1789, he purchased 40 more slaves at the cost of £1,536. By 1790, there was 25 sugar estates in St Andrew, Jamaica, and Newland was known to own a large amount of land.
This painting, done in Jamaica in the late 18th century, shows the Admiral's house, and right behind it is where Newland's pen would have been. Another view shows what both the Admiral's house and Newland would have saw looking out from their land. And this is a painting of the road which led to John Newland's estate in Jamaica.
It is now known that John married a free slave woman and had at least 2 children, William and Elizabeth, who later ran the plantation, as seen from this paperwork.
Unlike other plantation owners who wanted to make life easier and allow agents to manage their estates, Newlands is said to have managed all his own affairs. In the inventory of his property, arranged after his death, it is said that his desk was opened after his death and found to hold £55, 18 shillings and 4 pence, along with papers regarding current business.
On the 8th of July 1799, Newland fell ill and had his will wrote. Fortunately for the people of Bathgate, this was done just in time, as only a week later, John Newland died in Jamaica on the 15th of July 1799.
However, Newland's story doesn't end here. No, the estate he left was valued at around £48,000, including 100 or so slaves valued at £15,000. But his will was not clear in all its details. The estate was to be sold by the ex-executors of his will so that his debts may be cleared and his funeral paid for. The proceeds passed to the named trustees to be invested for 10 years. The interest earned was to be used to build a school in Bathgate. Several relatives were named to receive small portions of money, but the estimated £48,000 was for Bathgate. So the will was disputed by his relatives and a settlement wasn't reached until 1815. A large portion of the money was used up to meet the cost of the lengthy litigation. John Newland's only surviving sibling upon his death was Margaret Newland, his half-sister from his father's second marriage, born on the 3rd of February 1760. She received £50 from the will, however fought a legal battle for years that seen her receive a much larger sum. Furthermore, Margaret did not see that this fraction of the fortune, which was hers, would be spent on frivolities. She was determined that it would go towards the construction of a school.
In the end, King and Council decided that 10 years' worth of interest amounting to £14,500 would be given over to the building of a school, and in 1833 Bathgate Academy was built, which still stands along Marjoriebank Street. It's actually one of several schools that Newland wished to be built, and smaller schools were built throughout the area. Alexander Marjoriebanks, the local trustee, contested the will on behalf of the people of Bathgate. The first Newland's Day was celebrated on the 17th of April, 1844.
One of the only surviving memories of the Newland family was David Newland's grave, which was in the High Church Cemetery until the late 20th century, when the graveyard was desecrated and destroyed for the construction of a function hall and car park, therefore rendering the grave lost.
The Newland oration was added in 1933, the centenary of the Academy. It used to be held in the Academy Hall, but is now held at Bathgate High Church and delivered by a former pupil or a notable Bathgate personality on the Friday night prior to Procession Day. The parade has taken place every single year for nearly 2 centuries and continues to be a cultural event for the town and a time of celebration.